Have you ever achieved everything you ever wanted, only to realize that something was missing? Have you ever had your entire life fall apart in front of your eyes? This was one of the most painful periods of my life, and everything that I built my identity around was starting to crumble. I realized that these endings I was trying to understand all of the reasonings for why I would see something before I've even seen it. Deja vu. Why I would have goosebumps. Why do I get chills? Hey, beautiful soul. Yes, you. You are beautiful, whether you identify as female, male, trans, alien, fairy, witch, daughter, son, mum, dad, sister, brother, grandpa, grandma. You are beautiful, and don't you ever forget to be you to the full. Thank you so much for stopping by and clicking on this episode. It has called you for a reason, and that is because it matches your frequency and your vibration, and there is a message in it for you. Before every episode, I sit in meditation and ask for those who are meant to benefit from my conversations and messages be guided to it. So there is a reason why you clicked on this episode. If you resonate with this episode, please help my algorithm and subscribe, like, and comment below, and even better, share this episode with another being. Now, when we share our information, it helps to bring consciousness to as many beings as possible. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for spending your time here and working on yourself to find out who you are so that you can share and shine your light for others. Now let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, it's Melissa, and welcome back to the Purpose Search podcast, where I discuss all things science, spirituality, and purpose. If you're new here today, thank you for clicking on this episode. I hold conversations usually with people who have life-changing stories and are incredibly knowledgeable in their field, and they're aligned with their purpose, which I hope will spark something inside of you to listen to the call of your heart and intuition. But today, we don't have a guest because it's going to be solo guest me today. I am asking myself the questions, and I thought I'd share with you my awakening story and how I came to find my purpose. Now, every episode I start with a short breath exercise to drop us into the body and get present with a conversation before we come to screen or we're listening through our ears. So I invite you to close your eyes now or take a soft gaze in front of you. And please do not do this if you are driving. And as today is the summer solstice, the day that I'm recording this, I would love to invite some of the sun's energy into our body, and we are going to then penetrate it back out to the earth. So taking a deep breath in and letting it out. Just taking notice of where your breath is in your body. If it is in your chest, I'd like to invite you to take the attention down lower into the belly area, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Good. Now I want you to imagine that you've got the sunlight on the top of your head, and it's on the top of your shoulders, and you can feel it on your forehead and your back, and you can feel that warmth of that energy tickling your skin. Breathe that in and let it out. Imagining that sunlight is coming down all the way through the tip of your crown, down through all of the chakras and the energy centers throughout the body. So we have the crown, we have the third eye, just in between the brows. We have the throat chakra. We come down into the chest area with the heart chakra and the solar plexus. Just below that, we're coming down into the sacral. And then we're going to go down into the root, imagining this light is penetrating from the sun's energy all the way down through all of these centers, through your body, all the way down into the floor. Good. Breathing out. Now I want you to keep imagining that light that's shining through all of those chakras, all throughout your body. And I want you to imagine that this light is now expanding through those centers in your body. They're going towards the outside of your body. They're going to expand. The light is expanding now 3 inches outside of your body. Breathing in and breathing out. So you've got this gorgeous glow all around your body. Beautiful aura of light. Keep imagining this beautiful light coming through your body. And it's expanding out through those chakras outside of your body. Now it's extending 6 inches more. Breathing in and breathing out. Good. That light is coming through. It's going to expand even more to 12 inches outside of your body. You've got this huge ring of glowing light, beautiful, bright, white light, yellow hue, almost angelic. It's penetrating from your energy centers out. And breathing out. Good. Taking 2 more breaths here. And breathing out. Breathing in. And letting it all go. We're going to extend that energy and we're going to expand and tenfold this, multiply it even more, 1,000-fold it. It's going to penetrate out into the outskirts of the earth. This light is now penetrating and reaching the outskirts of the earth. And there's a beautiful protection of light surrounding the earth that's coming from your energy centers. Take in that light from the sun into your body and penetrate it out. Good. 2 more of those, breathing in. Imagining your light is extending all the way out, zooming out into the big earth. We'll do one last one, breathing in and breathing out. Good. Just taking the attention back to your normal rhythm of breath. And when you're ready, come back to your fingers and your toes and opening your eyes and taking attention to the screen when you're ready. So my name is Melissa. I was born and raised in the UK. I am kind of transitioning from being a performer, singer, dancer, actress. I still do some of this as well alongside my company that I've built. I was a West End performer. I was in Back to the Future, the musical in the West End in London. And I was in the original cast. Throughout that time, I also have been a teacher, mentor for children and adults for over 17 years, which has now led me to build my own business called InnerVox, where I hold conscious, connected corporate workshops for leaders to help with their businesses and create more success within the business. So on the outside, it looked like I had so much success with the West End and achieving my goal, and that was everything that I wanted. And then when I got to the West End, it was like, why am I doing this? Because I thought this is everything I wanted. I thought this was going to bring me so much happiness, when actually at the time it was the highest and lowest times of my life. And I felt like I was in the spotlight, but there was like this huge darkness behind me, this huge shadow. And I was tackling all of those challenges and issues that were showing up in my life at the time through therapy. So I was having 4 years of therapy at that point, 2 years of therapy at that point. So I started in 2020, and then I was in the show in 2021, 2022. So I was going through this like unpicking of all of these things that were happening in my life, in my childhood. I had been sexually abused. I had a lot of trauma in my childhood with my family. There was a lot of violence, and I saw a lot of things that I thought were normal. And then when I started therapy, I started to realize that actually that was not normal. And when I was going through some of the things that I went through, I was releasing all of this emotion. So now I'm a huge advocate on making sure that you're feeling your emotions. You are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts. And essentially that is what a spiritual awakening is. So, at the outside, it looks like I was like living the dream. So, many people would aspire to people who are in the West End and have been in that lifestyle, but actually inwardly I was carrying a huge shadow. And so, as I said, I started therapy and started unpacking that childhood conditioning and that trauma, and started repairing these relationships with my family. And I have such a beautiful connection now with my mom and with my dad and my brother. And we have much, much deeper conversations and understanding of each other. But that wasn't able to be the case because I had all of this baggage that I needed to sift through, which was under the carpet, which needed to come up so that I could talk about these things with them. So during this time, I began asking myself deeper questions about who I really was. This then led to a breakup with an end in a 13-year relationship with an engagement with my fiance at the time. And this was one of the most painful periods of my life. And everything that I had built my identity around was like starting to crumble. And I realized that these endings were just invitations into something new. And I remember being in my therapy session and my therapist saying to me, what is something that you can look forward to? What do you want in your life? Like, what's the next thing? And all I could think about was Bali. During this time, I started sleep meditations because I couldn't sleep. And I remember just putting this same meditation on every single night, and I fell asleep before the end of it. Like, it was probably like 5-10 minutes in, I was asleep every single night. And I was like, this is amazing. How is this even possible? And I was like, I want to hear what the end of the meditation is. Like, what's going into my brain as I'm sleeping? And then I realized, like, I did listen to it once the whole way through, and I was like, wow, this is like going into my subconscious now, because like I'm starting to feel so much better, starting to move with more clarity, and like move with steps to go to where I want to be, and start thinking about who I am without my ex. Like, and I'd been with him for 13 years, since I was 17. So at this point I was like, who am I without this person? I've never been on my own before. I've never thought for myself. I've never lived by myself. Well, apart from uni, and but like that was a time where it was such a beautiful like peace that I'd never experienced before, like being by myself. And now I realize, as I understand my human design now. And if you don't know what human design is, it's a modality to find out what your purpose is, of why you've been brought to this earth. So human design is based on the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, the I Ching, the chakra system. And there's 5 types. You have generators, manifesting generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. And there is an episode which I'll put here, which you can watch and learn all about human design. I've interviewed beautiful people who are experts, and there is so much knowledge out there on YouTube about what human design is. And if you haven't done it, you can put your date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth into an online platform. I use Align by Jenna Zoe. It's amazing. And I then found out what my human design was, and I started to realize like why I feel so good being on my own. And that's because I'm a projector, 1-3, splenic authority. And my life's incarnation cross is the right angle cross of penetration 2. And this made sense so much at the time when I realized, like, oh my gosh, I'm a projector. I'm meant to rest. I'm not meant to be working like a generator who has this beautiful life force energy coming through them all the time. I don't have that. And so when I started to embody living by design, I then started to like listen more to my intuition and bring in this beautiful relationship with my intuition. And it's led me to where I am now, where I have my own business, and I am so passionate about what I do, and I have a deeper purpose and meaning to my life. So I became curious about that, and I began experiencing a spiritual awakening, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what was going on. And I started like asking questions into Google, like what's happening to me, like what is a spiritual awakening, why do I feel like this, who am I started asking all these questions about like consciousness and healing, and I just like questioned everything I thought I knew, and started listening to my intuition. And that's when my therapist was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, Bali. And then through these meditations, I started meditating regularly, and I was doing grief meditations to let go of all the emotions in my body, and that I was dealing with the grief of the breakup at the time. And I felt this like undeniable pull to Bali. So I did this vision board. Bali was on it. I wanted to meditate in a treetop, and I traveled there a month later, only with a small backpack. And I decided in that moment I was just going to trust life instead of like trying to control everything. I needed everything in order. I needed to wake up at this time. I needed to write down all these lists. I needed to tick off everything. I even wrote things that like brush teeth and like. And I remember my therapist being like, why do you need to write that down to tick it off? And it was like, because then I feel good that I've done something. But that level of control was so detrimental to like the energy flow through my body of like what I was meant to be doing. And when I released that and I like trusted life instead of having to control everything, and just let go of like the control and like the fear of the unknown, and actually stepped in and leaned into the excitement of what actually could happen, that's when beauty unfolded. So I got to Bali, and 3 days after arriving, I knew I wanted to live there. And I was on this treadmill, like running, crying, like, how am I going to live here? I don't know what to do. And I met some beautiful people along the way, and they are now some of my bestest friends. I had all of these like kind of like experiences along the way, like whilst I was in Bali, which has now led me to like really trust my intuition and trust myself and trust my inner knowing and the energy that I like feel. Let me know in the comments below if you want to hear more of these stories and these magical moments. And I will be sure to do more of these solo podcasts if this resonates with you. But then in those 23 days, I had such a beautiful time, but I didn't see this tree top that I wanted to meditate in. And I had to go. I had to come back to the UK. I tried to change my flight. Nothing was changing. Nothing was working. So I came back, and on the flight, I messaged my landlord and was like, I am leaving the flat, and I will be leaving in a month's time. I gave myself a month to sell everything that I owned in that flat that I'd shared with my ex. And then I moved back to Bali in just with 2 bags this time. And so during that time, I had some like huge, massive personal growth. I expanded and contracted with so many things that I learned. Like I was like having these experiences that I was like, this is amazing. And then having these contractions of like, what am I doing? Like, what have I left? I'm like transitioning from like a caterpillar into a butterfly, because like I was in this cocoon stage of like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm becoming. And my body was like so unsafe, like in this new, beautiful environment. But actually, it was the most beautiful expansion. Even with all of the contractions that happened, there was some huge, beautiful highs and some really difficult lows. But throughout it, there were some beautiful moments of freedom. And I learned to trust myself, and I learned that healing isn't linear. What if your team's biggest breakthrough came from within? At InnerVox, we create tailored workshops for corporate companies that unlock confidence, communication, and collaboration. We're not your typical training. Our workshops are dynamic, experiential, laughter-filled, and designed to create lasting transformation. We use creative techniques, performance psychology, and real human connection. We help your people build trust and express themselves and perform at their absolute best by listening to their intuition and their inner voice. Because when your people grow, your business also grows. Visit innervox.co.uk bali.com/corporate today and click the link in the description below. I also learned that spiritual awakening isn't just about like always love and light. It's not always about that. There's so much darkness. There's always this, I feel like it's this equanimity of like balance. So you've got the light there and you've got the shadow. So like, for example, when I was in the West End and I had this like huge high, I'd like hit my goal, and then I had this huge low at the same time, and I was like trying to balance that. And I feel like life is just always that. It's always a balance of things. You're going to feel these emotions, but if you alchemize them, then you can go to the equanimity and feel that peace. So I moved out there, and then on the first day when I was there, I met this beautiful lady, and I'm sorry for people who have heard this story before. I have done it in my previous solo podcast, but I'm retelling the story because I think it's so important that like when you follow your heart and your intuition, which I bang on about all the time in this podcast, that's the tagline of this podcast, is follow the call of your heart and your intuition, and it will lead you to where you need to be, and you're always in the right place at the right time. And I went there and I met this beautiful lady who I saw, and I'd met her from, sorry, I have a really itchy nose. If anybody knows what that means spiritually, let me know. So I met this lady. I'd already met her before the last time I went to Bali. And then when I came back, she was there at this beautiful restaurant. And I was like, oh, hi, I haven't seen you in a while. And she was like, hey, I've just like gone and come back. And I was like, so have I. I've literally just arrived today. And she was like, oh, cool, that's amazing. Would you like to come to a waterfall with me? So the next day I went to a waterfall with her, and it was called Meliang. And I was like, wow, that's cool. My name's Melissa and it's called Meliang. That's a coincidence, or is it a coincidence? And then she said, I would love to go and visit this house because I'm trying to buy a house. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'd love to come with you to see this villa. So we went into the villa, and then I opened the doors and we opened the balcony, and I walked through, and then I see this like beautiful like scenery in front of me, and it was the view that I saw in my meditations. It was the view that I wanted to see, the treetop meditation. And I was like, what on earth is just happening here? I was like, oh my goodness, this is just like magical. I can't, you can't make this up. How can you just like randomly be in the right place at the right time with the right person who brings you to this place because she wants to see this villa that she's potentially going to buy, and then you see the vision that you saw in your meditation? And I was like, this is wild. And I was like, this is awakening me even more. And I was like, I was trying to research everything about astrology, gene keys, human design, aliens. I was like trying to understand all of the reasonings for why I would see something before I've even seen it, kind of like deja vu. Why I would have goosebumps. Why do I get chills? Well, they're energetic confirmations. And so through all of this research, and by the way, I'm a 1-3 profile in human design, which means that the one line is this need for this deep knowledge and understanding of like going down rabbit holes of learning really deep of a subject. And so spirituality was fascinating me. And so I just needed to know everything about it. Like, why did certain things happen? And in this moment, it was almost like I was like quantum leaping, and I was like, pulling in a projection from my future into my meditation. And so that's how I then kind of called in that experience, because my heart was being called to that experience. That's my perception and my understanding of what happened with me. And so, yeah, a lot of things like that happened during my time. Again, let me know in the comments if you want to hear more stories like this, because it was just like wild for me to like have this evidence in front of me that like there is more than just this material plane that we're living on in this three-dimensional world. And I was like, well, I can choose to be in England and be like living this lifestyle of like going from audition to audition to audition and getting rejection after rejection, and then getting this job or getting the second part, like nearly getting this job because I'm the second in line to someone who got it. Or I can like follow where my heart actually wants to be right now. And I'm not saying like being an actress in the West End is like a bad thing at all. It was so necessary for my journey, and it is so needed and purposeful in this life. It's creating so much joy and freedom and creative like abundance for people that get to watch it and be in it and fulfill their need for creativity and bring that out. But in that moment, it just didn't resonate with me being back in that environment again, and that just didn't feel right in my body. So being in Bali just felt like freeing. And even though it was uncomfortable, I was on my own in another country for the first time ever. I'd never moved anywhere on my own, kind of like went in blindly, like not knowing what to do. And yeah, I was like releasing all of this attachment to like material possessions and all of this stuff and just living like a slow life. And I realized whilst I was out there, I just had to like let a lot of my identity die, and a lot of my parts of my identity just fall away, and just begin asking myself like, why am I choosing this? And so I then came back to the UK, and yeah, I realized by coming back to the UK, I was like, okay, I'm now back in the UK. I've chosen to be back here. My heart's being called back here. Why am I here? Because my heart was calling me to Bali, and I've learnt the lessons I need to learn from Bali, and I've come back now, and I'm like, why am I here now? And I started to realize like, I need a business for myself. I had no desire to return to this like conventional path of going to a 9-to-5 job and having this. So I became obsessed with learning and studying online business. And I consumed like countless YouTube videos and podcasts and courses and things, and started creating content online and creating YouTube videos and sharing my voice in that way. And I launched my first YouTube channel. And I learned a lot from it. My first video like hit 7,000 views. And I was like, wow, okay, there's something here. I learned like valuable skills from that. But that channel did not align with me. It was a faceless channel. And I knew, like, even though I didn't want my face to be seen, I had this huge fear of being seen, even though I'm like, oh, been in the West End and been on stages and didn't know how to like speak to the camera like this. And it's just, it's a weird sensation. Like I'm literally talking to a phone camera and, hoping that somebody's listening to this. But my intention is actually just speaking to you, because I know that what you're going through is something that I went through. If you're watching this and you're now at this point in the episode, it's because you're resonating with it. Some part of my story is resonating with you. And because I watched so many YouTube videos of people who were doing the same thing, like sharing their stories and just putting their face out there, I actually started to like have this pull and this call to do the same thing. And so I realized like that YouTube channel was like a preparation for something bigger, and it was basically the universe like giving me like a little tester, like, like practice test before you do your like real exam. And so during this time I was like, okay, so how can I like support myself whilst doing this? And I was like, okay, the best possible way I can do this is go on a cruise ship, because then I get to travel, because I want to have this freedom life. I can start building my business. I can do the YouTube channel there. I can hold like, can start all of these things whilst getting paid and doing something I love as well, which is sharing my voice and singing and performing as well. And so I accepted a cruise contract as a lead singer, and I planned, to build my business while traveling the world. And then 4 weeks into rehearsals, I tore my ACL and my meniscus. And I knew in that exact moment, I was like, the universe does not want me to go on this cruise. The universe does not want me to go around South America right now. And so I had to face surgery and an unexpected, yet again, life change. And I accepted it. I accepted it very quickly, and I realized I could either resist it or I could just listen. And so I chose to listen, and I chose to build a new life and started my online business whilst at home, and create this freedom to work from anywhere, and to prove to myself actually that transformation is possible and that I can do that on my own. And I saw what happens when my intuition was meeting with that, was being met with action. So when I started to listen to these intuitive downloads that I was getting, like sometimes they would be like really quiet. Like I have splenic authority in human design, which is how you get your intuitive hits. If you're a generator or a manifesting generator, you could be emotional authority, or you could have sacral authority, which is like a gut instant knowing. Like a yes would be like a lean forward with the body, and a no would just be a contraction. But emotional authority is like when you're like feeling these emotions, and then you have to go through that emotional wave to just like come to clarity, and then you understand and like, okay, I have clarity now. I know what I can do. But for me, mine is splenic. And my intuition, I just didn't resonate with this. I didn't know, because most of the population are generators, 37%, 34%, I think. So about like nearly 70 something percent are all manifesting generators, which are most of the population around emotional and gut, sacral authority. Lots of people will say like, listen to your heart, listen to your gut. And I was like, I don't know what my heart's saying. I don't know what my gut's saying. And I can hear these things like, I don't know if that's my mind. I don't know if that's like what my intuition is. And so I started to like test like these small steps of like listening to my intuition. And I saw that when I like wanted to do something and then I did it, I was like, I want to go to this specific spa today. And then I went to the spa, and then I sit in the jacuzzi and I'm like resting, because resting is a real big thing for projectors. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to receive. And as I did that, these like 6 ladies came in, like 2 ladies and another lady and then 2 more ladies. And they were all marketers, and now one of them is like one of my best friends, and she's helping me with my business and my marketing and my SEO for my business. And I was like, that was because I listened to my heart and like tapped in, was like, what do I want to do today? And it was like, go here, look after yourself, nourish your body, or do this, or rest, or you need to write this down. Another one is like the other day when I was at the airport and I was coming back from Barcelona, actually. I'd gone to Barcelona, and actually I was called to Barcelona, and I didn't know why I was being called to Barcelona, but I just went anyway. And I went and I was like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what is going on. I was just like, I was in so much like, I needed control again. It was that control, like my Taurus rising. So I'm a Cancer sun, Taurus rising, and Pisces moon. I normally do this at the beginning of the podcast, but this is just a mishmash. Like everything's coming out today. And I was like, my Taurus rising was like really needing this control and like needing to know everything. And then I was just like, right, just let go of that control and just enjoy and be in the present moment. Come back to the present. Everyone says, come back to the present, and just sit with the present moment and breathe. And I just enjoyed my time. I went to the beach. I had a really lovely, gorgeous time on my own, in my own energy. Ate by myself. It was a beautiful lesson of love, self-love. And I got to the airport, and there was this man playing on the piano, and he was playing a beautiful song. And I went over and wanted to sing. So I got up and I got over this fear of like, what? No, I want to sing, but I don't want to sing. I'm just going to go and sing. I'm like, I'm a singer. I'm like, you can do it. And I said, go on. But I'd never done this. I'd never sang in an airport before, like in front of people like that. That's just something I've never done. But in that moment, I was like, I really wanted to do it. So I went over and he was playing If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys. And I was like, I know this song. And then, but beside him, there was this lady and she was singing under her breath. And my intuition spoke again and was like, sing. So I said to her, let's sing. And so we sang. And oh my goodness, in the first few seconds, she was harmonizing with me. And we were like singing, we were making these sounds. And I was like, oh my goodness. Imagine if I had not listened to my intuition then, to like go and do that and listen to my heart. Like that wouldn't have happened. And then after that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so in the present, I didn't record it. And then I was like, no, I want to record this. I need this like as an evidence bank for my intuition. And then I recorded it. And as I recorded, there was, we played another song, Someone Like You by Adele. And if you want to watch this video, I will pop it in the link in the description below and you can watch it on my Instagram. But we were we were like singing, we started to sing the first verse, and this other lady came by, and I could feel that she wanted to sing with us. And so I beckoned for her to come and like join us, invited her in, and she started singing. And then there was like 3 of us together, like singing these beautiful song lyrics, which was just like a stunning moment, like of magic. Like, imagine if I just sat down and not sang and not got up to walk over to them and sing. Like, that would not have unfolded. I just had this moment of like pure joy that came out of like listening to my heart. And now, while I was in the sky, I was trying to like sleep because I was like really tired. I was like trying to read more about the gene keys, and my eyes were like sleeping. And then I was like, okay, right, I'm just going to like close my laptop and put everything down. I put everything down, and I just sat into meditation, put my meditation music on to like go into sleep. And these words just kept coming through. And I was like, what is going on? These words about what happened at the airport. So I literally wrote my first blog in under an hour in the sky. I was like, wow, maybe that was why I was called out to Barcelona. Which now I'm going to put on my website. Now is going to be some keywords for my website, and now is going to attract the person that needs to come onto the website to listen, to learn, to get over whatever that fear is, like of doing something they've never done before. And if you want to read that blog, I'll pop that down in the description below as well. And it was just like such a beautiful moment where I was like, wow, my intuition is really leading me and guiding me. And there is something bigger out there that is doing that for me. And so I've just learned that, opportunities appear when you are just willing to walk through these new doors and trust that everything is happening for us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And these awakenings can be so beautiful, but they can also be terrifying. They can be horrendous. It can be like you're feeling so lonely and you're doing all this growth and you're questioning everything and, losing your mind. Like, if you're wondering, like, all these bigger questions about life and why you're here. And, so many people have these profound experiences and they don't know who to talk to. And that's why I built this podcast, because I wanted this space to be for somebody like me who was back in those days, like didn't know where to go, didn't know what their purpose was, didn't know who to turn to. Right in the description below, we are all here to be in community and connect with each other and support each other. And I know what that feels like, to search for those answers. And so that's why I built this podcast, to have honest spiritual conversations and awakening stories and about purpose and the journey of healing and learning about human design and astrology and being a business owner and entrepreneurship and living that conscious life. And you'll also find some experts and teachers and people who are sharing what they've learned. And I want you to know and take away that you are not alone, and your experiences are so, so valid, because you might not know what is happening right now to you and why, but that's okay. You don't need to know why right now. Maybe the reason isn't coming to you right now because you're not meant to know right now. And maybe you will get the answers later down the line, and maybe you won't, and that's okay. Your challenges will also contain so many gifts. I have interviewed so many people who have gone through so many dark challenges and realized that actually they have had a huge gift out of that. And they have learned that they are so psychic, or they have learned that they have this ability to read auras or understand human design or gene keys in such a beautiful way, or astrology and tarot and oracles or dowsing rods. And these modalities are all just ways of finding your wisdom. And if one of those resonates with you, go with that. Go with your fascination, go with your joy, go with that fascination that will lead you to your purpose. It will lead to it. There is so much wisdom in the darkness. So allow space for it. Allow yourself to feel those feelings. Allow yourself to move through them, dance through it, sing through it, journal through it, create through it, write, sing, do whatever you need to do. And just know that there is hope on the other side and that we must go through these feelings. It's temporary and this feeling won't last forever. So my one takeaway is to trust your inner voice. Trust that voice that is speaking to you, and trust that. Follow that heart, follow that call. If it is telling you to rest, rest. If it is telling you to go out into the sun, go out into the sun. You never know what might happen. You might meet somebody who then you might start a business with. Who knows? But just listen to your intuition, listen to your inner voice, listen to that call of your heart. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that this episode helps you to shine bright. And if you did enjoy this episode, the best way to show your support, because it really does help my channel grow, is to like this video and share it with someone who you feel might need to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button and comment below and share your thoughts on this episode. I love reading all your comments and replying to them. I'm sending so much love. Until next time, see you in the next episode.